Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. This is John Wayne Mullins on the Mr. New Dad, and this is actually my first broadcast on Mr. New Dad for this year. I've done a few live interviews with some other people, but this is the first official broadcast for Mr. New Dad, and man, it's exciting. I got a lot of great topics lined up. I have quite a few people that I'm going to be interviewing over the next few weeks. And I'm just really excited about what this idea of Mr. New Dad kind of morphed into. I've developed a coaching program, a 12-week coaching program that I'm actually launched now, and I'm actually looking for new dads to be a part of that program that I'm going to be starting next month. And so if that's something you'd be interested in learning more about, just feel free to message me at any time at any one of my platforms or comment on in the chat box below or in the comment section below. Today, I'm really excited because I have a friend of mine, a fellow colleague. I've known Nathan Gallegos for several years, but he is a professional coach, speaker, and trainer. And we're going to be talking about something that I get a lot of questions about, and that is, what is a coach? What is it? What isn't it? When do you work with a coach? When is it a good idea to work with a coach? And so we're going to be talking about this because these are some of the common um, questions that I get working with clients is the value of coaching and what it is. And so I thought I'd have Nathan come on and have a discussion about that, hear some stories and success stories as both coachee and coach. That way you can kind of hear his experience as well as my own. And then if you have any questions about coach or coaching, or if you've ever worked with a coach before, I'd love to hear them. But just feel free to comment or ask your questions in the comments section, and we'll get to them as they come in. So without further ado, here's Nathan. Nathan, you there? Oh, I think he's a little frozen. All right, he'll be with us in a little bit. So about coaching, just a little bit about me. I've been in the coaching space for about 10 years. I got into coaching when, matter of fact, I was about 27, 28 years old, and I was looking to grow and develop as a leader. And at the time, I was on active duty with the Coast Guard, and I couldn't find anybody that could help me. I couldn't find a mentor. I couldn't find a coach. I couldn't find someone to say, hey, how do I grow and develop as a leader? Um, and Nathan's coming. And so I didn't know where to look. So I started studying. I went to a couple lunch and learns, and I found out about coaching through the local university. John Maxwell was speaking there at an event, and he was talking about this idea and concept of coaches and what it is. And I was just like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And so fast forward a number of years, and I was in a position where I kind of got stuck in life, and I was trying to grow my business. I was preparing for some things I was going through personally, and I reached out to my coach, who I still work with today, and I was like, "Hey, what I'm doing isn't working. I need help." And we worked together for several months, and that's been an awesome thing. But I've worked and used a coach both personally and professionally, and I'll tell you right now, coaching is really a game changer when you use it and when you're ready, and when you're ready to really make that investment in yourself. Because I will say I know myself well enough that I can get in my own way a lot, but that's really the power of having a coach and the power of working with somebody of saying, hey, this is my goal, this is my vision, these are the things I'm trying to change. I need help, I need accountability. I need to be asked those tough questions that are really change the way that I think and behave. And uh, that's what a coach can do. So, Nathan, are you with us?
I am. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear. I
Awesome.
can't see
Awesome.
you, but I can hear you.
Let me see here if I can get my camera. I know it did pop on real quick here. Not sure why this one's not coming on. But yeah, I am here. So
Okay, yeah, and if you can get the camera up and running, that we'll get it going as you can. So a little bit, I'd really like to introduce you, tell you where you operate out of, where you live, how did you get involved with coaching, and share your story.
perfect. I think we're good
Oh,
to
there you
go
are.
here.
There you
There we
are.
go. All right, cool. Um, well, if you can ask the questions one more time, one more time.
Sure. So we're talking about coaching and what it is, because one of the things that's a common question that I get as a coach is what is it? Um, and then I'd really like to hear how you got into the coaching space and where you
Perfect.
live, a little bit about your history, and just kind of have a conversation about this.
Yeah, so a little bit of my background. I live in San Diego, California, born and raised right here. Love it, love it, love it. And I'm sitting right here looking out the window at palm trees and mountains, and we're suffering with like, you know, 70 degrees every day. So I don't get any slack on that. But my journey into coaching started off with just kind of, it was part of my life, and I think everybody's journey into coaching, in your journey in anything, comes to a moment when you realize that there's something you really want to do, or something that you're really good at, that you really love. And so for me, I've always been involved in the ministry in our church, and I've always been involved in leadership in different areas. It was just kind of a natural thing for me. And so I delved into personal growth, learning more about myself. How can I help others? And when I got into the workforce, that was just kind of natural for me. But really, a big shift happened for me to get into personal coaching. And I shared this a little bit with you yesterday. Is I had a loss in my family. My daughter passed away in 2006, and really made me refocus my time, like look at life, like, how much time do we have, and really looking at, okay, what do I want to do with the time that I have here. And I loved my job. I was a corrections officer, sergeant, and I really loved what I did doing law enforcement. But I also loved teaching and speaking. And I told my wife, I don't want to go back to school, right? I was like, I don't want to go back to school and get a teaching degree. And she says, well, just start teaching. And I started looking around. I found, and this is where you and I met. We found, the John Maxwell team, and I had followed John for years in the church aspect of it, but found out he had a coaching, and jumped into that, and really just absorbed and learned what coaching, mentoring, speaking, really fine tuning my craft and my skill, and seeing that this is something that I can do, and it's something that I can do while I still do the things that I love, while I still participate. I'm a training administrator at a facility, correctional facility. I'm also very active in my church. I'm active in other areas, but I do coaching and speaking and training still. And so it was just a way to enhance, and a way for me to really be able to understand the difference between what coaching, mentoring, counseling, consulting is. And so I just absolutely love it. And I love to be able to help people. One of my I don't want to call it a mantra, but my passion is, I want to live worthy of the calling that I have, and I want to help other people live worthy of their calling or their purpose. And so
Mhm.
really, what coaching is, going to your question, is what is coaching. Coaching is really getting people from where they're at to where they want to be, right, to where they feel they need to go. And I love to do that. I love to see kind of the light bulb come on in people when you're talking to them, when you're helping them, when you're drawing out from them. One thing coaching isn't, is not giving people the answers. And we mentioned that yesterday. That we get people that come and they say, "Oh, no, no, tell me what to do." It's like, wait, no, that's different. That's something different. And so
Right.
it's a great journey. It's a great joy to see people move from one point to the next point to the next point and see the growth in their life and to know that you had a part of that.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's something that since you brought it up, how would you kind of describe the differences between coaching and mentoring? Because that's one of the things that I often have to teach a lot about. And as Saul Gomez, he made a comment here is that oftentimes coaching and mentoring are often used interchangeably. However, they are different, and I agree
Mhm.
with that because there's a it's almost like it's a different mindset. Um,
Yeah.
how would you kind of describe the differences between coaching and mentoring?
So coaching, as I mentioned, it's it's taking someone from where they're at the moment to where they
Hmm.
want to be. And as a coach, what we are, we're catalysts. We want to ask the questions, and there's a very specific way that we ask questions that would lead to a deeper question that would lead to a deeper question, because there's some great studies out there, and I mean, off the top of my head, I don't think I'd be able to give you like all the data and everything, but
Right.
there's some great studies out there that talk about how the desire that we have, like our physiological, our emotional, our mental state, we know what we want, but there are, whether it's limiting beliefs, whether it's doubt, it's fear, other things, they keep us from taking those steps. And so what a coach does is a coach comes in and he asks, or she asks, those provoking questions, those deep questions, to become that catalyst to help that individual find the answer that's already there. Because so many times we know what we want to do, we've seen other people do it, and we think, hey, I want to do that, but there's a roadblock, there's something in the way of us getting there. And so a coach comes along and literally coaches you through it and helps you draw that out of you, versus a mentor. Now, a mentor is somebody who I would say has already been down a very specific path, and they mentor you, and they do kind of give you the answers of, hey, this is what you're going to do next, and this is what you're going to
Right.
do next if you want to go into this field, or specialized field. And so that's really the difference. And there is a lot of interchangeable words between coaching, mentoring, consulting, and coaching. I think from the last study I read, I mean, really, coaching has only been around. Professional coaching has only been around for about the last 50 years. We have, and there is a mix of, some people do a mix of coaching and mentoring, but when you look at it specifically, coaching is being a catalyst to draw out from the individual what it is they want to do and the answers they already have in there. And
Hmm.
mentoring is taking somebody by the hand, a path that you've already been down, and you mentor them down that same path.
Right. I agree. I almost describe it as mentoring. I'm almost like showing you the way. It's almost a different conversation because I am telling you what you need to do, how you need to go about it, things you need to look out for, and I'm giving you that advice. Whereas coaching, the way I describe it is, it's a conversation. It's usually, I ask a question and I listen, have that pregnant
Mhm.
pause or that potent pause and just listen. Awkward, but it helps that person to really think about the answer that you are asking. And it's your job
Right.
just to ask those questions. And sometimes that can be hard. And you know, I think I would say I'm naturally a mentor, and I oftentimes really want to help them find that answer. But it's not my answer to give; it's their answer. You know, so
So important. What you just said right there is so important. It's not the coach's answer to give. It's the individual's answer to find. And it's there. It's just, there's questions, and there's different levels, deeper levels of questions that we go through. There's a process that I read about. It's called like the 7 layers, where you just continue to go 7 layers deep on a question. Why do you want to do this? Oh, because it's something I've always wanted to do. Okay, why have you always wanted to do it? Oh, because I remember seeing somebody do it and they looked like they had a great life. Okay, why does that great life appeal to you? Why do you want that great life? And you get deeper and deeper to the root, and a lot of times when you get to that root, you know, your clients are crying and they're emotional. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that it was, you know, it was, this is why I really wanted it. And but it's great. I just, like I said, I love as a coach when you see individuals who's, you know, they're kind of, the light goes on
Oh
and they're
yeah.
like, oh, I got it. I can do it. And
Yeah.
I'll share you a quick story. I was doing a mastermind, and there was one individual. We were talking of, we were doing it on the 15 laws of growth, and we got to a point where we were talking about growth gaps, and it was like, what is keeping you? What gap are you are is keeping you from doing what you want to do? And one of my clients said, well, you know, I've been working at this place, and I feel I deserve a raise. I'm doing more. I'm doing this, and I said, well, why haven't you asked for one? And he literally told me, he said, well, I wrote the email. I have the email. It's a draft. I've had it for months. And I'm like, well, what is keeping you from hitting enter? You know, what is it? And so we went down this path. He went home, hit enter. The very next day, he got a response. Here's your raise. You know, and it was something, you know, we could say, well, that's so simple, but there are limiting beliefs that we have. There's baggage that we carry, and we have to be careful because as coaches, we're not counselors. We're
Right.
not, you know, dealing with hurts or traumas of the past, and we have to be very careful about that. But there are things that we pick up along the way, limiting beliefs of, you know, why I don't hit enter and why I don't send out what I know, what he knew he deserved, but something kept him from that.
That fear.
I had another client similar, had picked up more responsibilities because somebody, you know, his boss had left, picked up more responsibility. He's doing twice the work. He's saving this company tons, I mean, millions of dollars. He's saving this company because of his network, because of his resources. And I'm like, well, why haven't you asked for what you feel, you know, your compensation? And so once again, we went down this same road. And I remember I think I was happier than him when he sent me a text saying that, you know, he got his raise, they renegotiated. I was so like overjoyed. And it's those moments that, you know, it's like, this is why I love to be able to get to do this.
Right. I agree. And I like what Saul said here in the comments. Mentors, in my opinion, provide and coaches draw out, as you stated.
Mm,
And that's so true. It's so true. And that is a distinguishing factor between coaching and mentoring. And that's also one of the things. It's a it's a skill. It's a strength
yeah.
almost to be able to learn how to draw those questions, draw those answers out. It's. I mean, I've been doing coaching. This is my 10th year, and I'm still developing. It's like you learn how to listen and just really listen, not almost what they're saying, but like, hey, you told me this, or have you ever noticed you get really excited about this, or it's learning how to really listen beyond what you're hearing in vocal. So
Yeah, that's what makes a really good coach is the ability to listen and not to want to jump in and give the answer. And I that's a skill I really had to learn because like I said, my background, I came from the church background, which was more of a counseling. And so I was really ready to like, okay, let's go back. Okay, it started off here, back here with your parents or this, you know, you got bullied and okay, we need to deal with this and that's something completely different.
right.
But I have to, as a coach, I have to know when to. Now, there's going to be times when you deal with past, and I love how Valerie Burton, she's one of our you know mentors in coaching, and she kind of describes it as, you know, if you're dealing with an open wound from the past, that needs counseling. If you're dealing with the scar from the past, meaning it's healed, the scar is still there, but it's not an open wound, you can coach from there because it's already healed, you know. And so I think it's a great, you know, nugget of wisdom. And I think that's really good for individuals who are looking for, do I need a coach? Do I need a counselor? Do I need a mentor? To be able to really identify what it is that they need. And as coaches, it's you know, our ethical responsibility. And I've had to do this before where I've had a client and they had an issue that I said, you know what, we need to stop here because we can't go any further until you deal with this issue that you have from your past, because and you need a professional counselor for this. This is not something that I can do.
Right.
But before we move forward, we have to take a pause. And like I said, as coaches, we have to have that ethical responsibility to identify those things. So as you mentioned, it is a skill. It is. We're not just here to provide help. I mean,
Right.
knowing what questions to ask, knowing when our clients are making excuses for themselves and really challenging that. And as you said, like, hey, wait a minute, you said you wanted this, but now you want this. And
Right.
like what we do, we make excuses for ourselves. If something is too hard for us, it's like, well, I really didn't want it. Let me try something a little bit easier, and nobody challenges us. And
Right.
so that's what kind of a coach does.
Yeah, I agree. I remember that one of the first time I had worked with a coach, and I still work with him to this day. I'll never forget. It was like our fourth or fifth coaching session, and I was the coachee, and he asked me this very hard question, and I left that conversation so ticked off. I was like, because it's putting you said, you said you want this. It's almost like it's
Mhm.
exposing that fear, and you have a choice. You can either live behind it, or you can work with your coach to get past it. Because that was the one thing. Because I asked him, I was like, well, what am I doing wrong? I'm in this repetitive cycle. I'm not growing, and we found it, and he touched
Mhm.
it, and it was a nerve, and it was
Oh
just
yeah.
like, oh, it was so painful. Oh, I was so ticked off, but it was more something that I was dealing with, and so he
Yeah.
helped me kind of navigate my way through that, and helped me to get past that, because I realized that's why I'm not growing. That's what it is. So
Mhm.
it's and coaching is a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And so since a lot of the guys and men in my community that I talk to are either fathers or new dads, how important would a coach be for either a new dad who's trying to figure out, like, um, you know I have trying to figure out what kind of dad he wants to be, or what
Mhm.
kind of husband he wants to
Oh
be,
yeah.
or I talked to a lot of dads who didn't have dads growing up, or they may have had bad fathers, and they're trying to navigate
Mhm.
that. So where could you see if someone like that, or a new dad, or a dad, benefit from a coaching conversation?
Yeah. As soon as soon as a man realizes he's going to be a dad, get a coach. Get a coach. There's there's so many resources out there for women, which are great. There's so many support groups. There's so much out there. There's not a lot for men, unfortunately.
Right.
And so it's once my kind of thing is, once you know what you want to do, find a coach.
Hmm.
Find a coach that'll help you get there, because especially with when it comes to fatherhood, you and I come from different cultural backgrounds, so there's different ways that we see our fathers, if they were there. We see the type of parent. Some in my culture, it was like, Hispanic fathers, like, I provide. I work. I bring the money, and so when I come home, I want to rest. Nobody bother me. Take care of the kids, and so there are different nuances and different things you have to deal with. But I would say, anytime what you want to do, or where you're going, or there's a change in a season in your life. When my kids, all my kids are they're out of the child age. They're all teenagers, and I have one adult. um, Once they became teenagers, I had to really, like, oh, how do I deal with this now? Like, it's a completely different season. um, I have one daughter, two boys. I can't parent my daughter the same way I parent my boys. So I had to find some people, like, how did you as a father, raise your daughter? What are some important things that I'm missing? Because my background, it was just me and my brother. I had no sisters. So
Yeah.
I didn't, I understood my two boys, but then when my daughter was getting to that age, I was like, what do I do? So I had to find, a coach that would, hey, this is how you need to spend time individually with them. This is how, I mean, things that I never thought of, that I'm so glad that I did. So as a father, definitely, um, being in a comfort zone, a safe place, because fathers have questions. New dads
Mhm.
have questions.
Oh
You
yeah.
never, you like you see it on TV, you see it, you think you just okay, I'm the dad. It's just gonna instinctively come. And I think one of the saddest parts is time goes by so fast
Right.
that sometimes when you realize that I wanted to spend time, or I wanted to take this time to develop them or show them how to grow, show them what was important, instill values in them, it's too late. And
Right.
unfortunately, you do see that. And then you're always going to be a father. So I think there's always a time to find a coach to help you in fatherhood.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And you said something yesterday about kids being a blank canvas, but it's not. Kids aren't a blank canvas. They've already been wonderfully created, and they have a
Mm,
purpose. It's your job to help figure that out and help them achieve that. But I think that as a new dad, that preparation. I'm going to share some comments that Saul shared, um, and I really appreciate this, Saul. He said, "You mentioned not having a good father. I've realized that not being my father did not make a good one. It just made
wow.
me not him. Being a good dad takes preparation." And he that's really true. Whether if you're a new dad about to become a dad, or you are in that season where you are talking about becoming a dad, one of the first questions I ask, um, all the new dads that I speak to is, what was your experience like having a dad, and what kind of dad do you want to be? And
Yeah.
most dads can say the type of dad that they don't, that they don't want to be, or the values, or the characteristics that they don't want to bring forward, and that's that generational baggage that they can bring in there.
Hmm.
But are they aware of that? But where they're in the and I most of the time they are. But when I said, okay, well, what is your vision? Like, what kind of dad do you want to be in 10 years, 5 years, at your child's graduation? How do you want them to describe you? Um, One question I heard on a podcast was on, what was that on? It was on faith and family. It was on Focus on the Family. These pastors said,
Hmm.
a husband and wife said, early in our marriage, we sat down and had a whiteboard, and we asked ourselves, what kind of men do we want to raise? What kind of women do we want
Yeah.
to raise? And I think the more clear that you are about that, it will really help prepare you to be like, okay, well, this is how I need to be as a dad. This is
Hmm.
how I need to be as a man. And if I want to raise men who are this, this, and this, is my example? Am I showing that? Am I leading them that way? And I think that's such a great, well, it's a great coaching question, but it's also a great place for that man or that dad to really start thinking about, oh man, I need to think about this now, instead of,
Yeah.
you know, they're a year old. Mom's still healing. You got work, you got pressure. You put on 25 pounds because you got the dad bod going on, and you
Yeah.
can't. You have all these competing factors. It's like that stuff is
Yeah.
avoidable. It really is.
Definitely.
And I
And
like
there's
how.
there's
Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I like how you said it earlier. You said, don't wait to get to until you're stuck, but do it now, because as Saul said, it's the preparation piece.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the intentionality in everything.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional. It's not just gonna manifest itself. So yeah, there's so many dynamics that come with being a new dad. As you mentioned, the relationship with wife is, I mean, that kind of changes as well, because now as a mom, her priority is, the baby, because that child is dependent upon the mom, you know. And so
Right.
you, as a new dad, you take a back seat to, oh, wait a minute, I was, the dad, and I was getting attention and the intimacy and the romance, and now I got to take a back seat. We talked a little bit about, there's a dry season that happens. There's things we don't know. And it's very important, I think, for any dad, especially nowadays with what we, just kind of our culture in general, um because they are going to be the legs to our legacy, and it's our job to, to raise them right, to provide for them, and to be there and to give them a healthy environment. Statistics don't lie. We see the statistics on what happens when you have a father in the home, but also what happens when there's a bad father in the home. When there's a negative, an abusive father in the home, it's just as bad on the child as there being no dad in the home. And
Oh yeah.
so, it's, there's all those statistics there as well. So finding a coach, anytime you want something and you want to get there, find a coach. Find a
Yep.
coach that will help you. That will help you get there.
Yeah, I agree. And for those who are listening, who are considering about wanting to work with a coach, it's a season. I've worked with my
Yeah.
coach Bob. I first started working him in 2017. We worked together for about 6 months. I got it, worked on my way. Something came up, some challenges came up. I reached out to him for another couple of months, just because I already had that available. And now as I'm building Mr. New Dad, he's helping me with the business side of this. And so don't think that it's something that you will always have to go through. Most people that I coach, it's for a season. It's 3 to 6 months. They go
Mm-hmm.
on, and they always have that availability back to me if they need to talk. And so that's one of my encouragement for you if you're listening to this and you're just wondering, well, what does that look like? But it's a process, and
Yeah.
some seasons you're going to be ready for, some aren't. But that's where a coach can really be a game changer. And so, yeah, I certainly hope you've gotten a lot of feedback out of this. Where I'm taking, with Mr. Doodad, one of the things that I see a lot of men struggle with is the accountability piece and the having a tribe piece, having people around them that they can grow. And so, one of the things that I'm focusing on, instead of one-on-one coaching, is more going to be like a group coaching where you get to go through. Almost like it's a coaching course, but you get to go through it with other men, other dads,
Yeah.
and then you can talk about those things. And so it kind of opens the door to not only coaching, but mentoring as well. That way you get to be mentored by other dads or older dads at the same time. So,
Yeah, when you were sharing about this whole Mr. New Dad journey, I don't know if you saw, but I was getting excited. I was like, whatever you need, I'm here. I want to be a part of this because, I know as a father, and like I said, I'm in a little bit different season where my kids are grown.
sure.
And so, but, I definitely benefited from men and fathers pouring into me and giving me, the coaching advice, whether, some was just kind of, hey, here, do this, just that kind of advice of someone who had been there. But if I were to have a coaching, a coach and a group of men and a tribe with me, I mean, it would have been a game changer. So
Yeah,
what you're doing is really exciting. It's very needed,
I
and
agree.
to be able to implement the very intentional coaching aspect of it takes it to another level than just a men's group.
I
Because
agree.
as men, we are very prone to just hide it. We can compartmentalize. But
Right.
when we get into a very specific group or a very specific coaching atmosphere where, hey, this is what we're going to go for,
Yeah.
that's a game changer. So I'm really excited
Yeah,
for your journey on this.
and from the group coaching piece, you can't, as opposed to a men's group, you can't hide in a coaching group because you all have the same questions, and if you're a really
Yeah.
good facilitator, you are going to call on those introverts. You're going to call on those people who may be trying to take a back seat or who don't want to share with the group because there's something there, and
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is working with those new dads that they want to be a great dad. They're just trying to figure out how. And like you
Yeah.
said, um, our culture, our society, in every demographic needs better fathers.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely. And I don't know if you had asked this question, and maybe I will glance over it, but I just want to point out as well, one of the most important things about the coaching relationship is, you have to be coachable. You have to be willing to change, willing to be flexible, willing to be, like you mentioned, your coach kind of hit that nerve, and you have to be willing to go through that. in order to see that change. And so
Okay.
as a, speaking to those individuals who are thinking about, getting with a coach, that's something that you have to be coachable, and then obviously you have to have a great coach. And you know Ron, you're an excellent coach in what you do. I know your
Oh, thank you.
background and
Thank you.
stuff. So it's just it's fun, and being around other people. Like I said, my greatest joy is seeing that light come on, seeing individuals move through the process, and knowing you had a part in it, knowing that you're helping that individual go through. So it's really a joy.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So if people want to follow you or find out how to connect with you, what's the best way?
So the best way is just on social media. I'm on all platforms. Nathan Gallegos. On Instagram, though, you'll find me as at Living Worthy. Living Worthy. There's a whole story behind that. We can share that, another time. But yeah, you could look me up, and you can either, you can just give me a message, and that's kind of where I'm in my spaces a lot on social media. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can find me all on there.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I appreciate you being here and just sharing a little bit of your journey and your experience being a coach as well as being coached. So I certainly appreciate your time and experience and expertise. For those many of you who are either watching live or catching the replay on this, if you have questions about coaching, or you would like me to discuss another aspect of coaching, or if you're a new dad and you're like, hey, John, I'm a new dad. I'm about to become a new dad, and I want to be a great one. Reach out to me because I'm getting ready to start the group coaching group in February. It's going to be a 12-week process, but I'm really excited about it. But this is going to be my beta test group, so I'm looking for 10 to 12 guys to walk through this process with me. And so if that's you, feel free to reach out to me, connect, comment, send me a direct message, and I'll be able to reach out with you and get you in the group. So, Nathan, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And
Yeah, John, thanks, man. Thanks for reaching out, and I'd love to do this some other time. And
absolutely, we will.
yeah, and definitely the Mr. New Dad stuff. I'm in.
All right, awesome.
So whatever
Thank
you
you.
need. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right,
Well,
brother.
thank
You
you.
have a good one.
All right. Until tomorrow or until the next time, I'll be doing another live with another person next week. But be awesome and be intentional. Take care, everyone.